चलिए। ओम ओम सहना भवतु. Sorry. I'm so used to chanting that in the beginning. Om प्रातस्मरामि हृदि संस्फुरदात्मतत्त्वम् सच्चित् सुखं परमहं सगतिं तुरीयम् यत्स्वप्नजागरसुषुप्तिमवैति नित्यम् तद्ब्रह्म निष्कलमहं न च भूतसङ्गः तपोभिक्षीणपापानां शान्तानां वीतरागिणाम् मुमुक्षूणामपेक्षोऽयम् आत्मबोधो विधीयते बोधोऽन्यसाधनेभ्यो हि साक्षान्मोक्षैकसाधनम् पाकस्य वह्निवज्ञानम् विना मोक्षो न सिद्ध्यति. We'll chant from verses 1 to 5 of chapter 8. Chapter 8, verses 1 to 5. अर्जुन उवाच किं तद्ब्रह्म किमध्यात्मम् किं कर्म पुरुषोत्तम अधिभूतं च किं प्रोक्तम् अधिदैवं किमुच्यते. अर्जुन उवाच किं तद्ब्रह्म किमध्यात्मम् किं कर्म पुरुषोत्तम अधिभूतं च किं प्रोक्तम् अधिदैवं किमुच्यते. अधियज्ञः कथं कोत्रः देहेऽस्मिन् मधुसूदन प्रयाणकाले च कथं ज्ञेयोऽसि नियतात्मभिः. अधियज्ञः कथं कोत्रः देहेऽस्मिन् मधुसूदन प्रयाणकाले च कथं ज्ञेयोऽसि नियतात्मभिः. श्रीभगवानुवाच अक्षरं ब्रह्म परमं स्वभावोऽध्यात्ममुच्यते भूतभावोद्भवकरः विसर्गस्कर्म संनितः. श्रीभगवानुवाच अक्षरं ब्रह्म परमं स्वभावोऽध्यात्ममुच्यते भूतभावोद्भवकरः विसर्गः कर्म संनितम्. अधिभूतं क्षरो भावः पुरुषश्चाधिदैवतम् अधियज्ञोऽहमेवात्र देहे देहभृताम्बर अधिभूतं क्षरो भावः पुरुषोश्चाधिदैवतम् अधियज्ञोऽहमेवात्र देहे देहभृताम्बर अन्तकाले च मामेव स्मरन् मुक्त्वा कलेवरम् यः प्रयाति स सन्मद्भावम् याति नास्त्यत्र संशयः. अन्तकाले च मामेव स्मरन् मुक्त्वा कलेवरम् यः प्रयाति स मद्भावम् याति नास्त्यत्र संशयः. Allow me a moment. I'll just quickly get myself a glass of water. It's too much of. Okay, chapter 8. After gaining jnanam and vijnanam, I hope all of you are feeling wiser. As I said, please recall, chapter 1 to 6 is broadly covering the individual's journey. Recall, we had discussed this in the beginning of chapter 7. And 7 to 12 is more focused around bhakti. So if you have to encapsulate, 1 to 6 is more karma, which is dealing with what an individual has to engage in. Quite broadly. 7 to 12 is more focused on the element of bhakti. So what is the topic? Who is the center of attention in bhakti? Who is the center of attention in bhakti?
Bhagwan.
Bhagwan, absolutely. So 7 to 12 is all about Bhagwan and trying to understand to some extent from an intellectual perspective, and then ultimately Bhagwan ke gun ga karke. What is Brahman? What is God? So 7 में you saw flavor. Some of you are already like, अरे ये मुझे समझ में नहीं आ रहा. 1 to 6 तक तो मतलब सब अच्छा था. 7 में मुझे समझ नहीं आ रहा. Because automatically it just began with certain intellectual concepts about what is Bhagwan. जो हम सोचते हैं वो भगवान है नहीं. God is not a person. God is not. See, first thing you have to understand, and I think this is something Swami Shivendra Nagar says. He says, God is not a person, God is a position. God is not a person, God is a position. God is a position that you can reach. It's not a person that is controlling things and managing things. It's a state. It's a state of being that you can reach. Is my camera off? Oh, you're telling others. Okay. God is a position that you can reach, just as the principle is a position. The principal in any school is a position. Any individual can reach that position basis their qualifications, basis their work they have put in, basis the efforts they do. Right? Prime Minister is a position. Right now, Prime Minister is Narendra Modi, but Narendra Modi is not India. It's not the permanent Prime Minister. Today it's Narendra Modi. Tomorrow it will be, dare I say who it will be. I'll start a fight out here. And again, we'll all be distracted. No, I'm with you. I won't fight with you, Ishwaji.
Okay.
So, Prime Minister is a position. Someone reaches that state subject basis their efforts, basis their qualifications. So, similarly, if you put in effort on the spiritual journey, the ultimate state you reach is that position of godhood. It's called self-realization. It's called God realization. It's called merging with God. Bhagwan se jurna. And then, of course, we saw the idea of vyakt, avyakt, right? Something that is a very subtle concept. This world is nothing but a series of manifestations, and things are manifest and they go to being unmanifest, again manifest and go to being unmanifest. And he said, deeper than this manifest and unmanifest, there is a deeper unmanifest. God is that deeper unmanifest which is managing, controlling, overseeing this progression of manifestation and unmanifestation. That unseen hand which is seeing things, the ebb and flow of the universe, the rise and fall of things, the creation and destruction of things. God is that unseen hand, the deeper unmanifest. So these concepts immediately are a shift in gear we saw in chapter 7. And he meant what he said, jnanam with vijnanam, because in the next 7, 8 chapters, even in chapter 14, 15, 13, 14, 15, incredible chapters where he will talk exhaustively about these concepts. So the hope is that he's giving you gyan, and along with that, he's while driving it so much with different ways in which to explain that hopefully it'll develop some insight, some vijnanam. So similarly, chapter 8 also, the subject, the topic, the center of attention is Bhagwan. In fact, it's in the very name of the chapter, Akshara Brahma Yoga. The first chapter, the 8th chapter is called Akshara Brahma Yoga. Akshara means...
What do you mean by Akshar in this? Yeah.
Akshara means imperishable. Shar means perishable. Akshar means imperishable. Something that doesn't change. Something that doesn't change. You know why letters are called Akshara? हम कहते ना letters को, अच्छा इसका क्या अक्षर है? Letters are called Akshar because the letters are the fundamentals. They don't change. Words will change. When you mix the letters, they'll create some words. Words ke meanings will change, but the letters will not change. Changeless. Akshara. We have decided on these 26 aksharas in English. We have decided on these, how many aksharas in Devanagari? English में तो 26 है, देवनागरी में कितने हैं? काउंट करके बताइएगा मुझे. But we have agreed on these aksharas in any language, and these aksharas don't change. Right now, A represents a. Tomorrow, something else won't represent a. It's imperishable. It's changeless. That's why it's called akshara, right? The word akshara came from that, not the other way around. So akshara means imperishable, unchanging. Akshara Brahma Yoga, the yoga of the imperishable Brahman. It's all about that. Sorry, my screen is not shared. I thought my screen would be shared. If my screen was shared, then you wouldn't ask me what is Akshara meaning, because it's there in the name itself. Imperishable Brahman. And this chapter is divided into 4 sections. So again, a relatively shorter chapter compared to what we've seen in section 1. It's about 28 verses. It's only exactly 28 verses. And it's divided into 4 parts. First and foremost, creates the distinction between Brahman and the world. A topic we started discussing in chapter 7 when we extensively talked about Maya, illusion. How has this world come about? This world has come about because of ignorance of Brahman. Just as it has come about because of the ignorance of the rope. When you see the snake, you don't see the rope. When you see the rope, you don't see the snake. Similarly, any human being has the choice. Do they want to continue seeing the snake, or do they want to try to see the rope behind it? You have the choice. Do you want to continue pursuing the world and its temporary fulfillments? Or do you want to seek the mystery beyond it, the Godhead beyond it? Do you want to seek Brahman? Brahman and world. Point is, nobody's telling you what you should do or should not do. In fact, that's the best thing about Vedanta. It's not saying, oh, if you stop being If you stop pursuing Brahman, you'll stop being a Hindu. Huh? It doesn't say things like that. It's saying everybody will choose things based on their nature. We are simply telling you the path to the permanent. That's it. And Vedanta simply concludes, if you're pursuing the world and if you fail to pursue Brahman, it's the greatest of greatest losses. That's all. Mahati Vinashti. But no one can see, you cannot force this. What is forced is not forceful. It has to be driven by your own inspiration. So you have a choice. Every individual has a choice. Brahman and world. You gain what you pursue. Whatever you chase, whatever you seek. In fact, as he said in the previous chapter, wherever you have Shraddha, and whatever your Shraddha is, in chapter 17, which you're discussing in the other class, he says, whatever Shraddha you have, I make that Shraddha unswerving. You want to seek the world? Seek the world. You want to seek Brahman? Seek Brahman. Whatever Shraddha you have, I make it unswerving. I'll give you that extra push. I'll give you that extra push. But it's as clear as this. You gain what you pursue. If you're thinking all the time, business, 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 that's what you will gain. You gain business. Family, 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 that's what you'll gain. Money, 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 that's what you'll gain. God, 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 that's what you'll gain. You gain what you pursue. If you're intelligent about it, you'll gain it faster. If you're not intelligent about it, you'll have to go through lots of bumps and ups and downs, but you'll gain what you pursue. And what is that path to Brahman? Through steadfast yoga and meditation. We've been talking about this endlessly. The initial journey is yoga, karma bhakti jnana yoga, and steadfast yoga. And that will prepare you for meditation. Through the gateway of meditation, you reach Brahman. So verses 8 to 14 broadly discuss that. Then it goes into a slightly more intellectual discussion. Brahman beyond the manifest and the unmanifest. Beyond the Vyakt and the Avyakt is the deeper unmanifest. Brahman. We'll discuss it when we come to it. And 23 to 28 beautifully describes the path of return and non-return. Every individual is on a path. If you're seeking worldly enjoyments, you're on a path of return. Return means what? You will enjoy and then you'll return to a state of dissatisfaction. You will achieve something and then you'll fall back to a state of pursuit. So it's a path of return. A path of non-return is once you've gone, you don't come back. The spiritual path is a path of non-return. Some of this might be scaring you. Hurry, I won't come back. I'm not ready to go yet. Well, for you, the path of return is there. So path of return is nothing but punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. He's explaining that in a different context out here. And path of non-return is moksha, liberation. Ultimately, no returning back to this cycle. 23 to 28. So that's the chapter, and we'll start from verse number 1. If you recall, at the end of the last chapter, Lord introduced some terms. We had no idea what they meant. Arjuna also had no idea what they meant. So Arjuna is asking those, immediately starts with that question itself, verse number 1. In fact, we'll take verse number 1 and 2 together. Arjuna uvacha kim tad brahma kim adhyatmam kim karma purushottama adhibhutam cha kim proktam adhidaivam kimuchyate. Arjuna uvacha kim tad brahma kim adhyatmam kim karma purushottama adhibhutam cha kim proktam adhidaivam kimuchyate. Adhiyajñah katham kotraha देहेस्मिन् मधुसूदना प्रयाणकाले च कथं ज्ञेयोऽसि नियतात्मभिः. अधियज्ञः कथं कोत्रः देहेस्मिन् मधुसूदना प्रयाणकाले च कथं ज्ञेयोऽसि नियतात्मभिः. Arjuna uvacha. Arjuna said, Kim tad brahma kim adhyatmam kim karma. Purushottama. Oh Purushottama, what is this Brahman? What is this adhyatma? What is karma? You have used these terms in the last chapter. In the penultimate verse of the last chapter, the Lord used these three terms: Brahman, Adhyatma, Karma. What is these? What is this? Please explain. थोड़े विस्तार से बताइए. All of these terms I'm familiar with, but you're using it with such distinction. I want to understand what is the distinction between these three. It's not quite clear to me. What is Adhibhuta? Adhibhutam chakim proktah. Adhidaivam kimuchyate. What is Adhibhuta and what is Adhidaiva? In the last verse, he introduced these terms: Adhibhuta, Adhidaiva, and also Adhiyagnya. So in the next verse, he says, who and how is Adhiyagnya, above sacrifice, here in this body, O Madhusudana? What is Adhiyagnya here in this individual? What is Adhiyagnya? And how are you to be known at the time of death? Prayana kale cha katham. Kalaha. Kalaha means in time, at the time. Prayana kalaha means at the time of death. How are you to be known at the time of death? By the self-controlled. Above all, tell me, how do I actually get to know you? How do I get to know God? Someone who has followed this path of self-control and regulation and achieved spiritual progress, how are they to be known? So these questions he's asking in the first two verses. How many questions? What is Brahman? What is Adhyatma? What is Karma? What is Adhibhuta? What is Adhidaiva? What is Adhiyagnya? And how are you to be known? 7 questions he's asking. First 6 have to deal with the last 2 verses of the previous chapter. So, please clarify for me these concepts. Please help me understand. O Madhusudana, O Purushottama, O Purusha Uttama. Devotees of Lord Ram will be very angry right now. How can you call Lord Krishna Purushottama? Bhagavan Ram is Purushottama. Sorry, Arjuna did it. You can be angry about it if you want. Lord Ram and Lord Krishna, they're all avatar. They're both avatars of Lord Vishnu. Purushottama is a name given to Lord Vishnu. Uttama Purusha, the highest being. Uttama means highest. Purusha means being. The highest being. The best among all beings. The foremost among all beings. The Lord of maintenance. जो सब कुछ संभाल रहे हैं. Who is the best in your family? जो सब कुछ संभाल रहे हैं. Your patriarch or your matriarch is the best because they manage everything. Anybody has a problem, they're there to solve it. Their thoughts pervade the entire family. So that's why they are best among. Unfortunately, now in this generation, we are losing that concept of a family structure. It's becoming more nuclear and nuclear. Now people are not even getting married. So this concept is losing its charm. But anyway, Purushottama. So tell me clearly. And he answers in verse number 3, 4, and 5, and 6. So we'll take up verse number 3. Shri Bhagavan Aksharam Brahma Paramam Svabhavo Muchyate Bhuta Bhavoddhavakaraha Visargah Karma Sangnitam. Shri Bhagavan Aksharam Brahma Paramam Svabhavodyatmamuchyate bhutabhavoddhavakarah visargah karma sangnitah. The Blessed Lord said, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, Akshara Brahma Parama. He's answering. Brahman is Akshara, imperishable. Brahman is Paramam, supreme. Define Brahman, shortest and most clear definition. Brahman is the supreme, imperishable reality. Akshara Brahma Paramam. This world is perishable. Everything, every creation is perishable. Perishable means it has a beginning and an end. Because it has a beginning, it has an end. Brahman is unchanging, imperishable. In a movie screen, everything is changing. All the scenes are changing. You're going from a good scene to a bad scene, happy scene to a sad scene. One moment the actor is dying, the other moment the actor is winning. Everything is changing, but the screen remains the same. The screen is absolutely unchanging. The screen was there before the movie began, the screen will remain after the movie ends. Imperishable. Supreme. Supreme. All grandeur, all greatness resides in Brahman. See, who is given supremacy? The one who is more powerful is given a sense of supremacy. We say the king is supreme. Raja is supreme. In a company, the CEO is supreme. Why? Because they have more power. Their power pervades the entire organization. A king's power pervades the entire nation, the kingdom. Prime minister's power pervades the entire nation. That is given supremacy. Why is America the supreme power? Why? Because America's power pervades the entire world. So whatever has more power is considered supreme. Brahman is supreme most, beyond everything. Without Brahman, nothing can exist. Nothing can function. Just as without the screen, the movie cannot be even seen. You need a screen to see a movie. You need the screen to see the movie. Without the screen, there'll be nothing to project the movie upon. That pure consciousness, it sustains, maintains, enlivens the body to perceive and act, enlivens the mind to feel, enlivens the intellect to think. That power, which is just like electricity enables the bulb. Electricity is supreme. Without electricity, the bulb is useless. Suppose I get you the best Dyson. Dyson is the best company now. Who's used Dyson right now? See, if you ask me, I don't much care for these things, but I have to buy them because someone else in my family loves them. But at the end of the day, you have to appreciate the kind of design it is. Very beautiful, very subtle, very beautiful. You go through a Dyson store and you get attracted. I may not want to buy it, but what is this thing? So beautifully designed, looks so attractive. They've got that design game spot on. So Dyson, I buy you the best Dyson equipment, vacuum cleaner, or air purifier. In Delhi, you need the air purifier. So I buy you the air purifier, best Dyson. But I say, sorry, no electricity. No electricity in your house. Khattam. Totally gone, useless. Electricity is supreme. Brahman is supreme. Brahman is like that immaculate sun, which is shining on everything, lending its rays to everything. That's why we chant the Gayatri Mantra. That's why the sun is such a powerful symbol of God, because the sun sustains everything. The power of the sun is supreme in this solar system, isn't it? That's why we worship it. If the sun wasn't powerful, we wouldn't worship it. Paramam. Param means higher than everything. In this tradition, the beauty is Param is given to God. See, right now, in the world we live in, Param is given to whom? Usually to business tycoons. If you're a successful, wealthy person, you're given that state of Parama. You become an icon for everyone else to pursue. That's the world we live in. It's the world we live in. That's what everyone's attention is on. Maybe at a different time, a king would have been Parama. Now nobody cares for the king. We live in a democracy. Who cares for the royal family in the UK? They have to all the time create stories and all sorts of things to keep themselves relevant. That's why half the gossip you hear is about the royal family, because without the gossip, they'll be absolutely irrelevant. The world has changed. Maybe a couple of 100 years ago, the king was considered most powerful, supreme. Now it is entrepreneurs, the wealthy. At some point, perhaps it may have been the wise sages. So what the world considers supreme changes from time to time, depending on what they value. But the supreme most and permanently supreme is Brahman. Like the immaculate sun. That's why you worship the sun as a symbol of Brahman. So Brahman is the imperishable, the supreme. To realize this Brahman is your goal in life. His own being, Swabhavaha, his own being is Adhyatma. The Atman in you, the inner self. Adhyatma means, as I said last time, the prefix ad means something that goes beyond, or something that is at the core, something that is innermost, something that pervades. So the innermost Atma within you, the innermost core of your being, the what we call the Atman, the inner self, is what he's referring to out here, Adhyatma. So his own being is called Adhyatma. This imperishable, immaculate, supreme Brahman resides within you. As what? Adhyatma. You know not this Adhyatma. You know not the Atman. You only know the Sharira. You don't know the Adhyatma. You only know the Sharira. And yet it is there. Bhagavan Krishna is telling us his own being, his own nature, Swabhavaha, is called Adhyatma. Brahman itself, or depending on the school of thought you follow, a portion of Brahman itself lies within you in the form of Atman. Brahman is indivisible, so it cannot be divided. Just like you cannot divide space, Brahman cannot be divided. And yet, an aspect of it is within you. Adhyatma, the Atman, enveloped by the Sharira, enveloped by the body, mind, and intellect. Beyond your body, beyond your mind, beyond your intellect, beyond your individuality lies your real self, the Adhyatma. Tattvamasi. The four Mahavakyas. Anyone knows the four Mahavakyas? What's the first Mahavakya?
Tattvamasi?
No.
No.
That's the third Mahavakya.
Aham Brahma. Aham Brahma.
Aham Brahmasmi.
That's the fourth Mahavakya. Chalo. Maximum 4 chances I give you. By that time, you'll guess it. Huh? Very few people know the first Mahavakya. Third and fourth, many people know. Second, not that many people know. First,
Satchitananda.
huh?
No, that's not Mahava.
And there's not a Mahavakya. The four Mahavakya. First one is Prajnanam Brahma. Prajnanam Brahma means Brahman is Prajnanam, consciousness, supreme consciousness. Brahman is the reality pervading this world. Brahman is the pure consciousness which supports and enables what I've been saying right now, which supports and enables everything to function. So beyond the visible conditioned world lies underlying that is the pure consciousness, all pervading, Prajnanam Brahma. And the second Mahavakya is exactly what he's saying out here. So the first part of this verse is actually encapsulating the first Mahavakya. Brahman is the imperishable, the supreme, the immaculate. The second Mahavakya is actually in the second part of this first sentence. His own being is called Adhyatma. The second Mahavakya is Ayam Atma Brahma. This Atman is Brahman. This Atman within you is nothing but Brahman. And he's saying it right here. His own being, Brahman's own being is called Adhyatma. So Atman is nothing but Brahman. This Atman within you, this unchanging I within you, is Brahman itself. This is a truth you have to. It sounds shocking in the beginning. Huh? We're all beginning our spiritual journey. And I'm telling you, you are God. You know not. आपको भगवान से जुड़ना नहीं है, आपको भगवान से मिलना नहीं है, आपको स्वयं अपने आप को जानना है, आप स्वयं भगवान हो. Ralph Waldo Emerson, some of you may have heard of him. Emerson was a philosopher in United States, and Emerson and his contemporaries, some of them like Henry David Thoreau was a student, and some others, they were called the transcendentalists. Why? Because they read the Bhagavad Gita. Emerson and his contemporaries, some of his associates had read Vedanta, and they had called themselves the transcendentalists because Vedanta talks about the transcendental. So Ralph Waldo Emerson said, every human being is divinity in disguise, a god playing the fool. You're God, but you don't know you're God, and you're behaving like this silly individual, this clown, seeking fulfillment, seeking satisfaction, seeking solutions to small problems. You're a God playing the fool. Not me, I'm not calling you a fool. That's what Emerson said. I dare not say anything. Only gurus can use such language, like Adi Shankaracharya, all the time, whenever he wants, Mudaha. He's calling us a fool all the time. We are playing the fool. We are playing the fool with our material desires, our body, mind, and intellect. The desires of the body, the desires of the mind, the desires of the intellect. Completely, all the time. They've hijacked us. And we know not what is this Atman. I am Atma Brahma. I don't believe you. आप कैसे बोल सकते हो मैं भगवान हूं? I don't believe you. ये मैं नहीं कह रहा हूं, ये सारे स्क्रिप्चर्स कह रहे हैं, और ये एक आदमी नहीं कह रहा है, ये हजारों संत कह रहे हैं. तो अगर ये कह रहे हैं तो इसमें कुछ तो महत्व होगा. That's all. उस महत्व को समझने के लिए हम यहाँ बैठे हैं. I'm still trying to comprehend this. All I ask is don't dismiss it. It is shocking. The first time you hear it, you are God. So, Prajnanam Brahma. I am Atma Brahma. This Atman is that Brahman. This Prajnanam which we're talking about, this Atman is that Brahman. The third Mahavakya is Tattvamasi. That thou art. That is your real nature. That Atman is you. First it's saying this Atman within you is Brahman. Samajh. Third one is saying, third Mahavakya is saying, that's your real nature. This Atman is your real nature. Tattvamasi. Not the body, not the mind, not the intellect. You are not this individual ego. You are the Atman. Tattvamasi. This body, this mind, the intellect, this individuality is like a piece of clothing that you have worn. You have to shed it. You have to shed it. It's just a temporary piece of clothing in enveloping the permanent Atman within you. Tattvamasi. And the fourth Mahavakya, all the time the Guru has been talking. The Guru has been saying, Prajnanam Brahma, I am Atma Brahma, Tattvamasi. The Guru has been saying this. And when the seeker understands what is being said, when the seeker realizes this truth, he roars. He roars with a conviction. Aham Brahmasmi. Yes, I am this Atman, I am this Brahman. Aham Brahmasmi. When the seeker realizes this truth, he has that conviction, he has that declaration. Fourth Mahavakya, the ultimate Mahavakya, Aham Brahmasmi. So there's a progression. There's a progression to these Mahavakyas. So if nothing else, this is what we learned today. Most people know the third and the fourth. They don't know it's the third and the fourth. The first and the second also we have learned today. Yes, you have a question, Rashi.
So, sir, when we talk about the second Mahavakya, I am Atma Brahman, don't you think it will give a sense of arrogance to people who are very unknown to this entire concept? And, you know, they just can get away with anything by saying, look, I have the God in me. We, probably being spiritual seekers, may want to understand the actual, essence of it.
People will turn arrogant. I have the God in me. But what
Yeah.
makes it different? God is in everything. Everyone can say that. I also have the God in me. I also have the God in me. What's different? The rich person also has the God in them. The poor person also has the God in them. The king also has the God in them. The common also has the God in them. The African has the God in them. The Asian has the God in them. Not simply by being a Hindu do you have Brahman in you. Brahman is immaculate. So I am Atma Brahma. This Atman is all pervading. It's Sarvagataha. Sarvagata means all pervading. It's in everyone. It's in everything. So what's different? So take back your arrogance and put it in your pocket, because you have the supreme in you, but there's nothing special. Everyone has it. If you shift your focus to the supreme, that's what is special. Right now, you're still focused on you. That's flush it down the toilet.
Get it? Thank you.
You can say, and this is why, a terrible Netflix series called Sacred Games. It was a real. People have half-baked understanding of these concepts, and then they create their own. That's what he's saying. This is the third part of this verse is called the creative force. The creative force that does all of this is called karma. All the ignorance is this karma. So people get this creative force and they create with their half-baked understanding. So there in that series, I remember the fourth Mahavakya was given a completely ulta meaning. So had you asked your question about the fourth Mahavakya, I would have said, okay, there is some. The second Mahavakya, what's so special? Everyone's got the Atman, which is Brahman. So it's same for everyone. The fourth Mahavakya says, Aham Brahmasmi. I am that
ego.
So it can be taken in two ways. One is someone has actually realized that they are that Brahman. The opposite of that, the perverted understanding which this show was depicting. There's a famous dialogue by Nawazuddin Siddiqui which says, "Kabhi kabhi apun ko lagta hai apun hi Bhagwan hai." Famous. And I was infuriated when I heard that. Like, what nonsense is this? But anyway, kuch to log kahenge. All this
This
nonsense.
is exactly what I was trying to understand. It was a combination of both the Mahavakyas.
So the fourth Mahavakya is where you can get some kind of a notion and
Yes.
ignorance, right? So
And I think people do start with different cults because of this fourth Mahavakya also. They start believing that they are messengers and they have it in them and they just kind of,
absolutely. So that's why the Ishavasya Upanishad says,
true.
if you're attached to ignorance, you're in darkness.
But you're attached to knowledge. Even. Yeah, true.
The whole point of this discussion is to get rid of you.
Mhm. Right.
The whole idea of this is to get this individuality, this you. जब आप बह जाओगे, what will remain is the immaculate. When the river meets the ocean, the river is gone, finished, khatam. There's no river. The river has an individuality. The ocean has no individuality. The ocean has a totality. The river, when it truly merges with the ocean, the river doesn't have to say, I am the ocean. Because there is no I, there's only ocean. But Aham Brahmasmi is that ecstasy. When a river is merging with the ocean, imagine the river saying, I am now this ocean. I have realized it. I am actually not this river that I have imagined myself to be. I am this ocean. So it's a ecstatic declaration. But if the focus is on the I, khatam. See, Aham Brahmasmi mein, the focus is where? On Brahman. If the focus of the river is on the I, not on the ocean, then it's a completely wrong notion, right? So, see, it's not wrong. It's actually not very difficult. Problem is, people fall short or people get enamored by... See, when you're on this path, naturally, you'll gain a lot of following. You'll gain a lot of love. You'll gain a lot of money and power. People will seek your guidance for every decision they make. It's absurd sometimes. Sometimes I feel bad for Swamiji or, half of these gurus. People come to them deciding, oh, where should I send my son to college? Why where you should send your son to college, yeah? Poor Swamiji will have to decide all these things for you now. What diapers should I buy my kids? How can he decide, yeah? Ultimately, you have to use the knowledge you have been given by them to decide for yourself. But you gain a lot of power. People, you say one thing, they'll do it. And unfortunately, when you get attached to that, it's falling short. It's almost settling for that good life in a different way. People settle for name, fame. Some people settle for respect. Some people settle for following. Some people have... Again, no conclusions. I don't want to, because you cannot never understand you can't draw conclusions on this. I don't want to pass comments on any particular individual. But if someone truly has that notion, then they have fallen short. It's as simple as that. Their focus is not gone on the Brahman. The focus is on Aham. They've got an inflated sense of ego, nothing else.
Osho, Chandra Swami are examples.
No, I wouldn't want to comment on that. And in fact, I would urge you to, Osho is incredible. See, I would refrain from passing comments or judgments on any one guru. And if you ask me, my personal belief is knowledge is to be found. I think a couple of days earlier, when someone posted about ChatGPT and someone said, why should we follow AI for knowledge or whatever? I believe knowledge can be found anywhere. See, nobody can give you wisdom. AI can't give you wisdom. Guru can't give you wisdom. You have to churn out your own wisdom. But knowledge you can get from anywhere, and you should. So ultimately, see, I cannot be on a pedestal deciding Osho is good or this is bad or this is. I cannot comprehend. I cannot comprehend. But if you read Bhagwan Rajneesh's work, Osho's work, some of it is incredible. So whether or not whoever Osho was, take his knowledge. I would highly, I mean, not right now. After you've finished Bhagavad Gita and you've got a foundation, then please read many other teachers and gurus. And one of them I would recommend is Osho Rajneesh. So, and this is not a judgment on how good or bad Osho the person is, but at least the knowledge he has given can be useful. It doesn't matter whether Chat GPT or AI is actually intelligent or not, but if they're giving knowledge, take it. Use your own buddhi to evaluate it, no doubt. Don't simply follow it because it's coming from a master or a intelligent computer or someone or the other. You have to evaluate knowledge on your own, with your own sense of reason, with your own buddhi. But be open to it. So, his own being is called Adhyatma. I am Atma Brahma. This Atman is Brahman. So Brahman understood, Adhyatma understood. This creative force, the creative force that causes the birth of beings is called karma. Any karma, any action, we've discussed this before, any action comes about why? Because there's a desire backing it. That desire comes from a thought. That thought comes from a vasana. So that urge to act leads someone to act. That desire to acquire and enjoy, that desire to create and enjoy and have that sense of achievement, whatever it could be, the desire for success, it could be the desire for name, it could be the desire for simply creativity, whatever it is, it could be innumerable kinds of desire, yet it is all encapsulated into a creative force. So that creative force that causes birth means creation. Once you are born, you begin to function, you begin to act. So that creative force which causes the birth of beings is called karma. Without this creative force, no birth would happen, no action would happen. See, when he says action out here, he doesn't mean the gross action. The gross action is at the end of the cycle. What's at the beginning? It's called, we give it a different name. We call it vasana. So what is calling karma out here is actually what we've been discussing as vasana. Because of that vasana, you have been born here. Because you have vasanas, you are born here. Because you have vasanas for Vedanta, you are born in this classroom right now. Because you have vasanas for XYZ things, that's why you have been born into this world. So that creative force is what causes the birth. And subsequently, after birth, you perform all sorts of activities. You're in this web of actions. And where did these vasanas come from? Where does this creative force come from? It comes from avidya, ignorance. Please recall our discussion on Maya previously. Brahma Satya. Because you are ignorant of Brahman, you have projected this world. Just as you are ignorant of the rope, you project a snake. You are ignorant of Brahman, you project this world. So ignorance creates vasanas. Vasanas causes birth, causes action, causes this cycle. So this creative urge, due to which beings helplessly get into a cycle of doing, a cycle of pursuing, a cycle of striving, a cycle of chasing. That is called karma. See, we use it all the time. The law of karma, it's not physical action. The law of karma is the law of your vasanas. what kind of vasanas will be created subject to the way in which you function. Good karma, bad karma. He will gain good karma for this. He will gain bad karma for this. What it means is you'll earn good vasanas or you'll earn bad vasanas. So the word karma broadly doesn't mean the gross action. It refers to vasanas. So that vasana is the creative force. The vasana is the seed due to which a certain kind of plant emerges. The nature of the seed determines the nature of the plant. Similarly, the nature of the vasanas will determine the nature of your activity, the kind of actions you perform. And it'll give flavor to every aspect of your created world. So the creative force that causes birth, that causes the cycle of janma, multiple janmas, this is called karma. I'm thinking whether we should take up the 4th verse or not. We'll chant it. Let's chant it. Adhibhutam ksharo bhavaha purushaschaadhidaivatam adhiyajnyohame vatra dehe bhritambara adhibhutam ksharo bhavaha purushaschaadhidaivatam adhiyajnyohame vatra dehe bhritambara. He says in verse number 4. So the first 3 questions he has answered. Clear? First 3 questions he has answered. Now he answers questions 4, 5, and 6. What is Adhibhuta? What is Adhidaiva? What is Adhiyajna? He says Adhibhutam is the perishable nature. Adhidaivam is the indweller. I alone am the Adhiyajna, here in the body, O best of the embodied. Brahman pervades the created world. Brahman is all pervading. This world has come out of Brahman just as a dream has come out of the mind. I know it's late. We've discussed for 1 hour, so it must be. That's why I didn't want to take up this verse. But we'll discuss it at length in the next class. But let me introduce it at least. This world has come out of Brahman just as a dream has come out of the mind. You've fallen asleep. That's why you are dreaming. Similarly, you've fallen asleep in a spiritual sense. That's why you have collected this world. But what happens in a dream? One fragment of the mind becomes the dreamer. One fragment of the mind becomes the dream house. One fragment of the mind becomes the dream car. One fragment of the mind becomes the dream husband or the dream wife, the dream child or the dream daughter. One fragment of the mind becomes the dream boss. One fragment of the mind becomes the dream office. So it's all fragments of the mind which are creating the various things and beings in the dream. So the mind pervades the dream. It's only different facets of the same. It's the mind that is dreaming, isn't it? It's the mind that is projecting this dream. And so it is the mind, one fragment of it, which is becoming certain thing, another fragment of which is becoming another thing. Every aspect of the dream is pervaded by the mind. And when you wake up, what happens? The entire dream folds back into the mind. The entire dream folds back into the mind. So we say the mind pervades the dream. Similarly, Brahman pervades the world. Brahman is the all-pervading reality. So that aspect of Brahman in matter, in things which have a beginning and an end, he calls it Adhibhutam. I am in the bhutas as well as Adhibhuta. I lend the power of existence, Sat. Someone said Sat Chit Anand. So I lend Sat, I lend isness. Something exists because it is supported by me. Adhibhutam. I am in all bhutas that exist as Adhibhutam. Adhibhutam is the perishable nature. Similarly, in all beings have an intelligence. All beings have a mind and an intellect that feels, thinks, perceives, cognizes, has incredible powers. So this jiva within the bhuta says, I am pervading that also. I am adhidaivam or adhidaivatam. So I am adhibhutam, I am adhidaivatam. Adhibhuta is the perishable part of the world. Adhidaivatam is the indwella, the jivatma, that is experiencing and living in this perishable world. The individual is adhidaivatam. And he says, I alone am the adhiyagnya here in this body, beyond the adhidaivatam, deeper than the individuality. I am adhiyagnya, the supreme, the pure consciousness here in this body. So he declares what we had introduced in the previous verse. He says, I am in every being as adhiyagnya. This is God himself saying, I am adhiyagnya. I am in you. You know the bhutas, you know the daivatam, you know the mind and the intellect. You know not adhiyagnya, you know not the Atman. But he says, I am there. And this is what you will realize. This is what is called self-realization. At the time of self-realization, you will realize adhiyagnya. So we'll discuss this in detail in the next class, and before we move on to the subsequent verses. Happy to conclude class here and take up any questions.
So, sir, I was just thinking this definitely, gives an insight to who am I. We understand that bit. We're trying to understand that bit, of course. But what begs the question is, why am I here? If everything is orchestrated by God, if everything is God, and everything we do is all about Atman, Brahman, then why are we here?
The only satisfying way to answer this question is to go back to the dream. A dreamer asking this question, why am I here? If he asks that question too much, he'll be sent to a mental asylum in the dream. Huh? Look at this person, he's acting so weird all the time, questioning, why am I here? Why am I here? Why am I here? Nothing in the dream can justify. Nothing in the dream can make sense of the waking world. So anything I say, you'll be like, not a convincing answer. He must not be he must not understand the deeper aspects of Vedanta. He cannot able to answer my question. You cannot understand why you're here. Just like a dreamer cannot understand why they are in the dream. In fact, it almost seems obvious why I'm here. I have my reasons for being here. See, when you wake up, you realize the dream never was. So the answer to your question is you're not here.
So it's all mithya.
You're not here. But you'll only realize that when you stop imagining.
But
When
it's
you
very
wake up,
difficult
one second. When you wake up, what do you realize? I was thinking I was going through all those experiences. I didn't. It didn't happen. But that I will realize only when I wake up. Right now, if I try to think that way, my son will send me to an asylum. Mom's going a little cuckoo.
to.
I love her, but I'm thinking of her well-being, I'm sending her to this asylum. You cannot understand. You're not here. This is not happening.
So because what is happening is I'm trying to understand different concepts, yeah, but trying to thread them together. I'm looking for an answer.
All theories exist to pacify the mind. I think I've said this before.
I think it's igniting my mind more rather than pacifying.
Ultimately, how will it pacify the mind when you will say, Ashcharya, Ashcharya, I don't understand this. See, the truth is not in these words. The words are only trying to indicate the truth. Ultimately, the truth is not something which you will understand through some concept which I am discussing with you. The words are only trying to indicate the truth, but the words cannot capture the truth. If it was simply an intellectual understanding, we'd have all the pundits would be self-realized. Every pundit you meet would have been self-realized. It's not the case. So yes, initially it ignites the mind, and then you settle down and you say, you take a step back. Point is, and again, this is my understanding. Now, this may not be a dharma, it's more of a mata. The aim of this is to make you a quieter person. And how will you become quiet? By understanding that all my assumptions about the world, hey, something is amiss. What I'm assuming all of these things is, the reality may be different from what it actually is. So you become an observer rather than a completely lost in your immediate impulses. Because ultimately, as we're going to study later in the chapter, through meditation, you attain realization. This truth which we are trying to enunciate through words is only realizable in the depths of meditation. To take you to that state of meditativeness, to take you to that state of quietness, where, and how will you become quiet? When you lose interest in the world. I'm sorry to put it this way, but this is the truth. Just like you have lost interest in toys, just like you have lost interest in games, just like you have lost interest in cycles and bicycles, just like you maybe have lost interest in cars. As a 22, 23-year-old young boy, must have been so interested in cars and everything. If a 55-year-old person is still interested in that, you're like, what is this person, man? All the time only thinking about. We hope you grow above things. So the idea is, we hope only when you grow above it will you stop thinking about it. You don't think about your toys anymore. You don't think about your stuffed toys. I was in my friend's house a couple of weeks ago. I had taken my golden retriever. Golden retrievers have a habit of, like, they like to retrieve. Literally, that's why they're called retrievers. So we're sitting and, just talking. Suddenly the fellow comes with one stuffed toy. And my friend is like, hey, where did he get this from? I haven't seen this in 10 years, 15 years. It was a stuffed toy from his childhood. The fellow picked it up from somewhere. I don't know. Don't ask me. He only knows where he picked it up from. And then he went and he got one or two more things. The point I'm trying to drive home is, my friend hadn't thought about these toys for 15, 20 years. I don't know why he still has them. Don't ask me. But he hadn't thought about them. He had no idea where they were. So when you grow above something, you stop thinking about it. That's the hope. That when you grow above your fascination for name, fame, money, power, experiences, attachments, when you lose interest in it, you'll become quieter. And in that quietness, in that depth of, then you'll turn meditative. Because it's not just quietness, it's a seeking for something beyond all of this. Then through meditation, you'll realize what we are trying to convey right now. The words won't cut it. Unfortunately, I wish I had a better solution, a more enlightening solution.
No, this is perfect. It just paves the way. You look forward to something now that you know that is how it works. Thank you.
Yes. Anji Poonamji, sorry, you've had your hand up for a long time.
Yeah, just going back to Rashi's question of why are we here? Are we not here because of our vasanas? Isn't that why we are here? Why we take birth?
No, absolutely. See, there's two ways of understanding it. You're here because of your vasanas, right? So there are two ways of looking at it. Either you're here to pursue your vasanas, or you're here also to ask yourself, what am I really chasing? If you pursue your vasanas, okay, that's one basic reason why you're here, absolutely. And you'll continue in this cycle. Today you're chasing these vasanas, tomorrow as your vasanas shift to that, you'll chase that. Punarapi janam, punarapi maranam. Indefinite cycle. But a deeper purpose of why you're here is to ask yourself, what on earth am I going through? And step out of this cycle.
Yeah. Thanks.
There are two levels. One is the first level we call a mundane level. And you're absolutely right. There's a mundane reason why you're here. Your vasanas have brought you here. But hopefully you have in you a deeper vasana for adhyatma. And that will help.
Thanks. Yeah. Let's put it in perspective. Yeah.
Till the time we were studying about the Karma Bhakti Gyan Yoga, it was relatively simpler to understand. Once we delved deeper into this particular topic, it's creating a lot of mayhem and I don't know, is it with me only or is it with the others also?
Ask the others, don't ask me.
The others choose to be quiet.
Others, is it creating mayhem? They're coming back, so I think something is making sense.
So,
I see the
Rashi ji,
population of the classes partially dropped, but most people are still coming back. Means it's
so
making
when we were doing 7 chapters, it is definitely very different. 1 to 6 was a bit relevant to us कि हमको क्या करना है. And from 7th onwards, I was also confused at concept also in the class. You're talking about God, we're talking about bhakti, and actually we don't know really the meaning of bhakti. So this is a new concept. That is why we are finding it weird. अपने लोग के लिए भक्ति का concept ही कुछ पहले different था. So ये that's where we are going. It's something new for all of us, I suppose.
So my hope would be that hopefully I can steer you through this confusions to the best of my abilities. And the beauty of the Bhagavad Gita is that it ends with something very practical. The Lord says, okay, I've discussed all of this. Now you'll see that it shifts completely. So even in the middle, there are shifts, and then again it goes to very abstract discussion, and then it ends with something very practical again. So 17 and 18 chapters, 16, 17, 18 are again very very engaging. In fact, chapter 12 is a beautiful flavor. It concludes the idea of bhakti with something very practical. See, we are talking about all these concepts of God and all these, but ultimately, what does it mean to be a bhakta, and how do you start being a bhakta? So he concludes this entire section, 7 to 12. He concludes with 35 qualities of a bhakta. So we'll wait for it when we get to it. But the beauty of the Bhagavad Gita is that it lends flavor to everything. It doesn't dilute the knowledge, but at the same time, it keeps coming back to meeting seekers where they are. That's what makes the Gita so attractive. So we are temporarily discussing something very subtle, and I agree with you. All the way from the middle of chapter 7, we've been talking about Maya, illusion. Even right now, there's a flavor of that in our discussion. It will change a little bit. In fact, very soon it'll change. Very soon it's going to change. And then again, it'll go. Chapter 10 and 11, you'll be wondering, like, what am I supposed to make of this? And then again, 12 is a great leveler. It really settles down. Again, 13 is quite subtle. 14 is quite subtle. 15 is very subtle. 16, 17, 18, again, levels down beautifully. So you'll see this flavor, this ebb and flow of the Bhagavad Gita also when we come to it. With that thought, we'll conclude today and we'll see you next Tuesday. Hari Om.
Thank you.
Thank you
Hari
so
Om.
much.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Hari
you.
Om.
Hari Om.